During the winter of 1998 to 1999, some elements of the Pakistani armed forces were covertly training and sending Pakistani troops and paramilitary forces, some allegedly in the guise of Mujahideen, into territory on the Indian side of line of control. The infiltration was codenamed Operation Badr, and its aim was to sever the link between Kashmir and Ladakh and cause Indian forces to withdraw from the Siachen Glacier, thus forcing India to negotiate a settlement of the broader Kashmir dispute. Pakistan also believed that any tension in the region would internationalize the Kashmir issue, helping it to secure a speedy resolution. Yet another goal may have been to boost the morale of the decade-long rebellion in Jammu and Kashmir by taking a proactive role. Initially, with little knowledge of the nature or extent of the encroachment, Indian troops in the area initially claimed that they would evict them within few days. However, soon reports of infiltration elsewhere along LOC made it clear that the entire plan of attack was on a much bigger scale. India responded with Operation Vijay, a mobilization of 2 lakh Indian troops. However, because of the nature of the terrain, division and corps operations could not be mounted, the scale of most fighting was at regimental or battalion level. In effect, 2 divisions of Indian Army numbering 20,000 along with several thousand from the paramilitary forces of India and the Air Force were deployed in the conflict zone. The Indian Air Force was first approached to provide air support on 11th of May with the use of helicopters. On 25th May, Cabinet Committee on Security authorized the Indian Air Force to mount attacks on the infiltrators without crossing LOC. However, the then Air Chief Marshal intervened in the committee's decisions, and on 26th of May, a go-ahead signal was given, and it is on 27th of May, that is on this day, 21 years back, flying from the Indian airfields of Srinagar, Avantipur and Adampur, the ground attack aircrafts including the MiG-21s, MiG-23s, MiG-27s, Jaguars and Mirage 2000 struck the insurgent positions. So let's start about understanding about this famous operation launched by the Indian Air Force known as Operation Safed Sagar. Operation Safed Sagar was officially started on this day 21 years back. Before getting in more detail about this particular operation, I would like to tell you that SSB Crack Exams is India's largest, most preferred online defense exams preparation portal. It is one-stop solution for you if you are preparing for NDA, CDS, AFCAT, INET, Territorial Army and Indian Air Force Airman Group X and Group Y. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter and Telegram and directly visit us through our website learn.ssbcrackexams.com and download our app from Google Play Store where you can have each and every defense related information, examination related study material and content in your hands. Before going to understand in detail about what is this Operation Safed Sagar in detail about, we have to understand the basic definition of this operation. Operation Safed Sagar was the code name assigned to Indian Air Force's strike to support the ground troops during Operation Vijay that was aimed to flush out regular and irregular troops of Pakistani Army from vacated Indian positions in the Kargil sector along the line of control in 1999. So it was in the time of Kargil War in 1999, and the operation of the Air Force in Kargil War is known as Operation Safed Sagar. This was done where it was done in the vacated Indian positions in the Kargil sector, and this was aimed to flush out, that means to keep all the militants and the irregular troops, all the regular and the irregular troops. Regular troops include the regular Pakistani Army people, and the irregular troops include those army people who are disguised as the Pakistani militants. Both of them have to be flushed out, and the operation was actually started by the Indian Army as Operation Vijay. To support Operation Vijay, Indian Air Force was plunged into action, and this particular operation is known as Operation Safed Sagar, and this was to support the ground troops of the Indian Army. To get in more detail about why is this operation very special for us to know, it was because it was the first large-scale use of air power in Jammu and Kashmir region since the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. In the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971, Bangladesh Liberation War, the Bangladesh came into existence. After that particular war, the Indian Air Force has kept large amounts of its aircrafts and the ammunition in this particular one, and this is the first large-scale use of air power in the Jammu and Kashmir region. And why is it very large one? It was because it included around 7 different types of fighter aircrafts, 2 types of helicopters, three types of transport aircrafts in large numbers, and all of these have participated in this war, and this war caused serious degradation of supplies, ammunition, military posts, and it also caused degradation of the respect of the Pakistan. Every strike was extremely precise and powerful. Let us understand why in detail and where did this particular operation completely wholly started upon. Initial infiltrations were noticed in Kargil in the month of May 1999, approximately on the date of 8th of May 1999, and it was a common practice for Indian and Pakistani forces to abandon the forward post during this time. During the winter seasons, due to the extreme weather conditions, both the Indian forces and the Pakistani forces will abandon the forward post. But after abandoning it, in the time of spring season, they will come back and they will reoccupy the post. But in the coming spring, the Pakistani army not only occupied their positions, they even occupied the Indian posts too in a bid to capture the Kashmir. So this was a problem that was arised in this particular situation. What happened next? Operation Vijay was launched by Indian Army, planned by various commanders, headed by Army Chief General Ved Prakash Malik. Our army mobilized 2 lakh Indian troops along with several thousands from the paramilitary forces of India. Intruders were found to be well entrenched, and while artillery attacks had produced results only in a very few areas, all the remote areas also needed the help of the Air Force, and this was a very important one for us to consider, and this became the genesis of the beginning of Operation Safed Sagar. What happened next? Indian Army seeked the support of Indian Air Force on 11th of May 1999, where IAF just used its helicopters to assist here. On 25th of May 1999, the Cabinet Committee on Security, this is a very important cabinet committee, this has authorized Indian Air Force to attack the infiltrators without crossing the line of control. Whereas the Air Chief Marshal at that point of time, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal A.Y. Tipnis, he has put forth an argument in that particular committee to include the fighter squadrons to do their role in this particular operation too. He was very sure enough that if only when the fighter squadrons take place and if they are able to do their part in this particular war, only then we will be able to secure our Indian positions in the Kashmir. What happened next is what? It is on 26th of May 1999, a go-ahead was given by the Cabinet Committee on Security, taking Air Chief Marshal Tipnis sir's considerations. On 27th of May 1999, that means 21 years back on this particular day, flying from the Indian airfields of Avantipur, Srinagar and Adampur, ground attack aircrafts including MiG-21s, MiG-23s, MiG-27s, Mirage 2000s and Jaguars struck the insurgent positions in Kargil. Helicopter gunships showered ammunition on the infiltrators very heavily. To get more in detail that the losses were not only on their side, we even incurred losses on our side too. On this particular day, we even lost one MiG-21 aircraft and one MiG-27 jets. Both of these were shot down over the Batalic sector. This MiG-27 aircraft was actually on an aerial reconnaissance mission. So it was even, however, successful, but we have unfortunately lost 2 major aircrafts on our side. On 28th of May 1999, an Mi-8 helicopter was shot down by 3 Stinger missiles while on an offensive role. Both of these important losses which are incurred on our side forced the Indian Air Force to reassess our strategy. Helicopters were immediately withdrawn from our side for a major counteractive plan. So what was the counteractive plan later? Next included the number 7 squadron of the Indian Air Force, which plunged into action on 30th of May 1999. Mirage 2000 aircrafts were taken into the action by this squadron. Mirage 27 aircrafts at that point were considered to be, and they were deemed to be, the best aircraft capable of optimum performance under the conditions of high altitude seen in the zone of conflict. Armed initially with 250 kgs of dumb bombs, number 7 squadron flew over 3 days and struck infiltrators in Munto Dhalo and even on Tiger Hill, and even on points including 4388 and 51402. These were very important one for us to know. These strikes destroyed the logistics and the resupply capabilities of the enemy, that is Pakistan, in the Batalic sector. Tiger Hill was heavily protected and defended by the Indian Air Force because Tiger Hill was that strategic area which was giving an upper hand on the ground forces on the Pakistani sides. So it was very important for us to re-secure the Tiger Hill into the hands of the Indian Armed Forces. What happened next? The Indian Air Force had a very decent and a very strategic way of neutralizing the targets, and this was very importantly explained. Each airstrike is a result of carefully planned chain of events spanning several areas of specialization. Broadly speaking, an airstrike would have all of these four important components. The first one include the recce mission or the reconnaissance mission. Second way is about the airstrike missions. The third ones include the battle damage assessment BDA missions, and after assessing the BDA we will also go for a detailed results of it, and a follow-up recce or repeated airstrikes will be done upon the plan of that particular commanders which are operating in our armed forces. What happened next is about that the Israelis at that point were very helpful for us. They provided us with 100 laser guided bomb kits, and Air Force has chosen these to make maximum use of them, and we retaliated the Pakistani bunkers very heavily. Aircrafts operated 10,000 feet above ground level, well out of the man-portable air defense systems range, leading to an increased accuracy in bomb droppings. One of the many facts that have emerged clearly is that target acquisition by the pilot is the bottom line. Totally unfamiliar surroundings in Kargil area made target recognition difficult from the ground, let alone from a fast moving aircraft. As a result, the initial few sorties from high levels were not effective as desired. However, once revised and modified profiles, tactics and manner of system usage had been perfected, the accuracy of the airstrikes improved dramatically. Anytime the target was spotted, a very high success rate invariably resulted. And what all sorts of problems we have faced and why was this operation extremely great? It was that we had very low number of airstrips for takeoff and landing. Remember, we had 3,427 transport aircraft sorties, 2,474 helicopter sorties, 1,730 fighter aircraft sorties, accounting for a total of about more than 7,000 sorties, all of them being done in a very low number of airstrikes, making it a very strategic mission for us to know. The ammunition was also very limited and Army was on its full scale power. Despite these, Indian Air Force had made remarkable statistics, including which we consider the role. We had airstrikes, we had combat patrol and reconnaissance, accounting for all of about 1,199 different number of sorties, which are very important for us to know. And soon, with this great operation, the operation was declared successful. On 11th of July 1999, Indian troops recaptured the key points in the Batalic sector, and on 14th of July 1999, the then Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji has declared both our operations, Operation Vijay and Operation Safed Sagar, successful ones. Indian governments set the conditions for the talks with the Pakistan, and on 26th of July 1999, Kargil conflict officially comes to an end. Indian Army announces complete withdrawal of Pakistani regular and irregular troops, and it is on 26th of July we celebrate the Kargil Vijay Divas. It is also our duty to make our future secure, so it was very important because of this particular operation. However, there has also been criticism of the methods initially used and the type of planes being unsuitable to the terrain that resulted in early losses. This is believed by many in the Air Force as coming as a wake-up call to upgrade the aging fleet of the craft, especially in the attack craft and helicopters, to better enable them to fight in the mountainous regions. But in the context of the war and the light of the poor information available on the infiltrations, the Indian Air Force was able to coordinate well with the Army and provide air support to the recapture of most of the posts before Pakistan decided to withdraw its remaining troops. We acquired and later started co-developing Sukhoi Su-30 MKI heavy fighters with Russia beginning in the early 2000s, and now we are using them indomitably. The process of acquiring 126 medium multi-role combat aircrafts was also initiated in 2001 after the war of 1999, and this is considered to be one of the India's largest military tenders to date. What all are the key takeaways from this particular operation that we have to consider? Firstly, we have to understand this operation was successful and it provided incessant attacks on enemy's logistic machinery and causing crisis to the enemy. In the area of interdiction of enemy supplies, the successful and incessant attacks on enemy's logistic machine had over the last few weeks culminated in a serious degradation of the enemy's ability to sustain themselves in an increasing number of areas. Series of attacks against Point 4388 in Dras sector was an excellent example of how lethal airstrikes combined with timely reconnaissance detected the enemy plans to shift to alternate supply routes, which were once again effectively attacked. Going on with the second most important major impact of the air power in this particular operation was in the area of casualties. Normally, an enemy defending a well-fortified position, in this case Pakistan, suffers between 3 to 6 times less casualties than does the force on the offensive. However, this operation has seen the reverse, with the enemy casualties far in excess of those suffered by us. One significant fact must not be lost sight of the two warring sides. It is the Pakistani Army that suffered airstrikes, which obviously contributed significantly to its casualties. It is felt that without the use of air power, our own casualties could have approached, if not exceeded, 4 figures, or it has exceeded beyond our imagination. The third important point and the third aspect is that of attack chopper operations. Indian Air Force dedicated attack choppers like Mi-35 and Mi-17s and many more have prompted the use of armed and modified ones for the role. Besides the capability of machine itself, vis-a-vis the area of operation, the creation of the right air defense environment is a crucial factor which would determine the employment of this platform. Effectiveness versus vulnerability would need to be examined during Operation Safed Sagar. The abundance of man-portable SAMs in all enemy-held areas precluded the effective employment of attack choppers. Going on with the fourth most important key takeaway is about the air power in the enormous difference it made to the ground operations. This is the fourth major impact of air power, and it even included a field army unit's headquarters. The army officers stated that as a result of the precision airstrikes on Tiger Hills, our troops have literally walked over entire Tiger Hills area. The enemy is on the run. The fifthly was a very important point is about night operations were carried out using ingenuity and imagination. Sixthly, the effort put into air defense escorts and area combat air patrolling by day as well as night provided an effective deterrent which ensured total superiority. At times, the Pakistani Air Force's F-16s orbited a scant 15 kilometers from our strike formations, attacking the Pakistani targets kept at bay by our own air defense fighters flying a proactive pattern above the strike. We have also remember that the high degree of imagination, flexibility and Indian Air Force Army coordination which marked every phase of the operation a very successful one. Operation Safed Sagar, as the air operation in the Kargil area was called, was indeed a milestone in the history of military aviation. This was the first time that air power was employed in such an environment. Fighters as well as armed helicopters carried out many hundreds of sorties against the armed intruders who had infiltrated into the Indian territory. The use of air power in this theatre was instrumental in accelerating the end of the conflict to India's advantage. Indian Air Force's air strikes against enemy supply camps and other targets yielded rich dividends. A noteworthy fact is that there was not a single operation on ground that was not preceded by airstrikes. Each and every action was a result of coordinated planning. Enemy was kept off the backs of Indian Army, and in the area of interdiction of enemy supplies, the successful and incessant attacks on the enemy's logistic machines over the weeks culminated in a serious degradation of enemy's ability to sustain them. That is it to understand about the Operation Safed Sagar in much more detail, guys. For more knowledgeable content, subscribe to SSB Crack Exams channel and download our app from Google Play Store, which will help you in much more larger way if you are preparing for various defense examinations like NDA, CDS, AFCAT, etc. I wish that each and every defense aspirant watching this particular video soon get commissioned into the Indian Armed Forces and become part of the major defense operations that will be carried out in the future by our armed forces. Until then, stay tuned with us, and last but not the least, Stay home, stay safe, and Jai Hind.